إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه من سار على سبيله إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. The chapter we're on now, chapter 44, where it mentions the statement قول ما شاء الله وشئت, where a person says whatever Allah wills and you will. I mentioned the first evidence عن قتيلة أن يهوديا أتى للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال إنكم تشركون تقولون ما شاء الله وشئت وتقولون والكعبة فأمرهم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا أرادوا أن يحلفوا أن يقولوا ورب الكعبة وأن يقولوا ما شاء الله ثم شئت. رواه النسائي والصحيح. So in this it mentions that a Jew came to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and he mentioned, indeed you associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are people who have fallen into shirk. You say whatever Allah wills and you say and by the Kaaba. So the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ commanded them, if they want to take an oath, then they should swear by وَرَبِّ الْكَعْبَةِ. They should say وَرَبِّ الْكَعْبَةِ, by the Lord of the Kaaba. وَأَنْ يَقُولُوا, and that they should say مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ, whatever Allah wills, ثُمَّ شِئْتَ, and then you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You don't make it equal. Now, the relevance of this chapter being mentioned here now, مناسبة هذا الباب, it mentions أن هذا الباب داخل في باب قول الله تعالى فلا تجعلوا لله أندادا. The chapter is preceded already, where it ends, don't make any partners for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If a person says MashaAllah wa shit, whatever Allah wills and you will, then you've made that person the same as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in terms of Mashi'ah. But the Mashi'ah of the creation is tabi', it follows the Mashi'atillah, it follows the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I must mention this statement of saying tushrikun, it mentions that this is from the matters that is shirk al-asghar. It's from matters that are shirk al-asghar. It's not major shirk that takes you out of Islam, but it's shirk al-asghar, which is also serious, as it's worse than the major sins. As you mentioned, when you say MashaAllah wa shit, hada tashrikun fi mashi'atillah, this is associating partners in the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when saying wal Kaaba, by the Kaaba, then this is taking oath by other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when this Yahudi came to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it wasn't to say that this was the general state of the Muslims, rather there's some from the Muslims who are saying the likes of these statements, who are falling into ash-shirk al-asghar when they said the likes of these statements. And it shows the Prophet affirmed that which was said by the Yahudi, that he was speaking the truth. And in consequence of this, he guided the companions to that which is better for them to say, i.e. that which is correct. So the person says, MashaAllah thumma sha'a fulan, فهذا يعني تجعل مشيئة العبد أو يجعل مشيئة العبد تابعة لمشيئة الله. As we mentioned before, this will make the will of the servant following the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَيْسَ عَلَى حَدٍّ سَوَاءٍ, that they're not the same. Also, from this it shows you that the prohibition against shirk is aam, is general. Yani even by taking oath by the Kaaba, that's something that is of a noble status in Islam, doesn't permit this oath. It's still something that is to be avoided in all circumstances. Also, the next hadith as mentioned also gives further tasrih, clarity in terms of the usage of masha'Allah wa shit as being from that which is shirk. عن ابن عباس أن رجلا قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ما شاء الله وشئت قال أجعلتني لله ندا بل ما شاء الله وحده. So here mentioned a man said to the Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم, whatever Allah wills and you will, and he said, are you making me, or have you made me a partner with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He said, rather ma sha Allah wahda, rather you say whatever Allah wills alone. Whatever Allah wills alone. Now, aja'altani, this is not a question that requires an answer. It's what is called istifham inkari. It's a question to show, or it's the form of a question to show a disapproval of that which was said. Of the exceptions of when we would use like wow, at the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was alive, they would say Allahu wa rasuluhu a'lam. Allah and His Messenger know best. After the death of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you can't say wa rasuluhu. That's to be avoided. Now, however, when it comes to this comes with action. So to say that there's a similitude or they're the same between Allah and His Messenger in Mashiach, then that is from the matters of shirk al-asghar. The next hadith, لابن ماجه عن الطفيل أخي عائشة لأمها قال رأيت كأنني أتيت على نفر من اليهود. So I mentioned from Tufail, who is the brother of Aisha from her mother's side, he mentioned, I saw in terms of a dream, as if I came across a group of the Yahud. فَقُلْتُ إِنَّكُمْ لَأَنْتُمُ الْقَوْمِ لَوْلَا أَنَّكُمْ تَقُولُونَ عُزَيْرُ بِنُ اللَّهِ. I mentioned, you are a people, if you had not said Uzair is the son of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then they said in this dream, قالوا وإنكم لأنتم القوم لو أنكم تقولون ما شاء الله وشاء محمد. And you are people if only you didn't say whatever Allah wills and whatever Muhammad wills, i.e. the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. ثم مررت بنفر من النصارى فقلت إنكم لأنتم القوم لولا أنكم تقولون المسيح ابن الله. I mentioned again also to the Christians, he came across the Christians, said, you are a people, you would be the people, but however, if you didn't claim that the Messiah is the son of Allah. قالوا وإنكم لأنتم القوم لولا أنكم تقولون ما شاء الله وشاء محمد. And they also said the same thing. You would be the people had you not claimed that you say whatever Allah wills and Muhammad. They mentioned فلما أصبحت أخبرت بها من أخبرت ثم أتيت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فأخبرته فقال هل أخبرت بها أحدا قلت نعم قال فحمد الله وأثنى عليه ثم قال أما بعد فإن طفيلا رأى رؤيا أخبر بها من أخبر منكم وإنكم قلتم كلمة كان يمنعني كذا وكذا أن أنهاكم عنها فلا تقولوا ما شاء الله وشاء محمد ولكن قولوا ما شاء الله وحده. So here it mentions within this hadith, when Tufail woke up in the morning, he informed whoever he informed of regarding what he had saw in his dream. And then he went to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and informed him, and he said, have you informed anyone else? And he mentioned, na'am, that he informed such and such. So the Prophet praised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and glorified him and said, Amma ba'd, as to proceed, Tufail had a dream and he informed whoever is informed from among you, and indeed you have said a word that I have been prohibited from that I've been prevented from prohibiting because of X, Y, and Z. So don't say MashaAllah wa sha'a Muhammad, walakin say whatever Allah wills alone. So in this said such and such thing had prevented him from prohibiting from it, but now clear revelation has come, as revelation comes in the form of dreams also. So this is clear to show that sometimes there's situations that occur with the Sahaba that the Prophet approved of, that would have an impact on the Sharia. So in this situation, this was shown to Tufail in the dream. Similar to that is the other situation of one of the Sahaba that had the dream regarding the adhan. They had the dream regarding the call to the Salah being the adhan. That also was later approved by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Within these hadith, it doesn't say MashaAllah thumma sha'a Muhammad. It says قُلْ قُولُوا مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ وَحْدَهُ. That's what's best. Even saying thumma shit is best to say, to not say that at all, to say MashaAllah wahdahu. When it says لَأَنْتُمُ الْقَوْمِ is what it means, نِعْمَ الْقَوْمِ. You would be a good people had you not said the claims that was mentioned against them. Can you check my Instagram if it's frozen? Huh? It's still working? Yeah, because it's saying something about... Don't worry, I'm going to start again, it's alright. So now, that is clear regarding the prohibition of saying MashaAllah wa shit, whatever Allah wills and you will. There's no relationship to put Allah and His Messenger in the same place. La. And to say this is from Shirk al-Asghar. To say the likes of that statement is from Shirk al-Asghar. Also, in continuing matters regarding things of shirk, in terms of statements, then we have the next chapter which mentions Man sabba dahra faqad adha Allah. Man sabba dahra faqad adha Allah. Whoever curses time, then they have cursed or they have harmed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has offended Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, in this this is an important point because a lot of people may fall into this without realizing. It says, قول الله تعالى وقالوا ما هي إلا حياتنا الدنيا نموت ونحيا وما يهلكنا إلا الدهر. They mentioned and they say it's only our worldly life. We live and we die and we live, and nothing destroys us except for time. It's only time that destroys us, or causes us to die. Now, in the rest of the ayah mentions وَمَا لَهُمْ بِذَلِكَ مِنْ عِلْمٍ إِنْهُمْ إِلَّا يَظُنُّونَ. And for them regarding this, they have no knowledge. Rather, this is something they just assume. So, of the things that's mentioned, the reason why this ayah is mentioned here, because سَبَّ الدَّهْرِ, cursing the time, هذا من الشرك. This consists of a shirk. لأن ساب الدهر إذا اعتقد أنه فاعل مع الله فهو مشرك. It mentions the one who curses the time, if they believe that the time is a factor that has action with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this person has made, is a mushrik. It mentions adha Allah, offended Allah. It mentions because they've attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sifat and naqs, i.e. attributes of deficiency. وقالوا أي منكر البعث. They said it in terms of rejecting the hereafter. ما هي أي الحياة life إلا حياتنا الدنيا التي في الدنيا وليس هناك حياة أخروية. It mentioned when they said this, when Allah mentioned this ayah, He's talking about how the kuffar that reject resurrection, they don't believe there's any life after death. They believe it's only the worldly life and that's the end of it. Namutu wa nahya, i.e. we die and we live. Some die, some live. I must mention وَمَا يُهْلِكُنَا إِلَى الدَّهْرِ أي مرور الزمان. It's only the passing of time that causes us to perish. I did not attribute Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala muhyi wal mumit. Allah is the one who gives life and causes death. They attribute this to time. Rather, they have no knowledge for that which they say, and this is purely assumption. The next point that's mentioned in the next hadith وفي الصحيح عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال قال الله تعالى يؤذيني ابن آدم يسب الدهر وأنا الدهر أقلب الليل والنهار. And في الرواية لا تسب الدهر فإن الله هو الدهر. It mentioned in this hadith, that hadith al-Qudsi, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions mankind offend me, they curse time and I am time, I change the night and the day. Now in another narration, don't curse time, for indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is time. Now what does this mean? Ad-Dahru is not from Allah's names. Ad-Dahr is not from the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, nothing happens in time except that it is by the qadr of Allah Azza wa Jal. Nothing occurs except by the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if a person curses time, they're cursing a hadith. They're not cursing time bidati. They're not just cursing time for itself. They're cursing time because of an event that happened during that time. And in reality, doing that, you're cursing the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the time does nothing. The time doesn't have an action. Rather, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yuqaddiru ma yaqa'u bayn al-azman. Allah is the one who decrees that which occurs in different times. So when a person curses time, they're cursing the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what's mentioned in the general explanation, it mentions الذي يسب الدهر عند نزول المصائب والمكاره إنما يسب الله تعالى ويؤذيه بالتنقص لأنه سبحانه هو الذي يجري هذه الأفعال وحده والدهر إنما هو خلق مسخر وزمن تجري فيه الحوادث بأمر الله تعالى. So what's mentioned, the reality of why this is a major matter is because one who curses time at the times of calamity and incidents and things that they dislike, rather they are cursing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and offending Allah by attributing to him deficiency. Attributing deficiency to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah is the one who causes these actions and events alone. As for time, time is from the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is subservient to Allah azza wa jal. And the time, different events occur within time by the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So again, as we mentioned, when a person curses time, they are cursing the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And just to re-emphasize, when it mentions yu'dhini, it mentions you need to offend but not to harm, because none is able to harm Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The next chapter, it mentions, and that's chapter 46. التسمي بقاضي القضاة ونحوي, naming oneself the judge of judges and the likes of it, which we'll come to see. And this is not only one naming himself, but also being pleased if others refer to them as this name. So it says, في صحيح عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إن أخنع اسم عند الله رجل تسمى مالك الأملاك لا مالك إلا الله. وقال سفيان مثل شاهان شاه. وفي رواية أغيظ رجل على الله يوم القيامة وأخبثه. وقالوا أخنع يعني أوضع. So what's mentioned here in this hadith, the most despicable name with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a man who names himself King of Kings, as there's no true king other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As Allah, yani Maliku kulli shay. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, lahul mulku wa lahul hamd. Allah has the absolute dominion. Or Shahan Shan, this is from the non-Arabs ways of saying King of Kings. هذا من العجم ما يعني يجرى على كان يجري على الألسن, that which was common in other than the Arabic language. They said words like Shah and Shan. Shah was a word, another way of saying King of Kings. So to say Judge of Judges, King of Kings, this is of the things that are the most despised names that a person can be given or be pleased with. For example, Rastafarians, they worship Ali Selassie, who was a man, an emperor of Ethiopia. But not to be worshipped. He was a man just like any other man. But they worship him, they take him as a deity, and they give him titles like King of Kings. This is not befitting. This is not permissible to refer to mankind with the likes of these names. Rather, they are from those who are owned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, slaves of Allah azza wa jal, whether they like it or not. So these titles are not to be given to mankind. These titles are not to be given to mankind. Nor is anyone to be pleased with someone referring to them with such names. One is not to be pleased with people referring to them with such names. Also, in the other narration it says, أَغِضُ رَجُلٍ عَلَى اللَّهِ in يوم القيامة. Those who Allah will be angry with most as well, those who have the likes of these titles and these names. So, those who are the most low of the people with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those who take names that have that meaning of al-azama, which is that magnificence and glory which is only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wal kibriya, and that justified proudness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has. And التي لا تليق إلا لله. These names are only befitting to be attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. كملك الملوك. If a person calls it, this is like making himself comparable to Allah azza wa jal. And even though the title says Atasami bi Qadi al-Qudat, the judge of judges, this is based on qiyas of the prohibition of saying Malik al-Muluk or Malik al-Amlak, by saying King of Kings and the likes. Anything that is similar to this is impermissible. Anything similar to this is not permissible for a person to take as a name. لا
يعني في قاضي قضاء مسؤول عن القضاء.
لا
وظيفة قاضي القضاء.
لا هذه الأسماء لا يليق أن يطلق على أي أحد غير الله. هذه الأسماء تليق بالله وحده. Al-Bab al-Thani, the next chapter, which also emphasizes matters to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names, we'll mention after, we'll continue after Salah, inshallah.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن لا